Martha Koome, our religious leaders, friends, brothers and sisters who may have come with us. We gather today for a very special reason, that we are all concerned about our country. And I take this chance, first of all, this opportunity to sincerely thank God for this opportunity to meet the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya for creating a time with us this early morning to come and follow up some of our concern and even our joys and perhaps some of our sorrows. As Kenyans, we are all anxious about the oncoming general elections. So I do recognize that this meeting is taking place when we are just about to go to the general elections, which is scheduled on the 9th of August, 2022. Meeting with the Chief Justice this morning is therefore a very important moment, knowing our history and even knowing, looking back to 2017, Kenya's elections, how they were, especially the presidential petitions that ended up with the Supreme Court, which was followed up by annulment of the same. The management of elections is therefore important for all of us. Each institution should therefore play correctly its role. We are happy, Your Excellency, that our religious leaders, with the good responses we are getting from our constitution and the relevant offices. So, for we have met the NCIC, IEBC, the Ministry of Interior and the National Coordination for the purpose of us knowing how prepared we are for the forthcoming general elections. And as religious leaders, we are calling for free, fair, and credible, peaceful elections, whereby if there will be any party aggrieved, we say, we ask them to take their issues to the relevant institutions and to amicably and peacefully deal with them. We thank you, Lady Justice. We have seen you are very committed to this process. We have seen you right on the right place at the right time. And we are aware that the work is enormous. So we want to support you, want to support the judiciary to do the right things. So religious leaders that are here, we leave our doors open for the consultations so that decisions are taken that can guarantee peace before, during, and after the elections. So I take this chance to kindly, while I thank you, invite you to the podium. And thank you once again for coming.
Bishop, the Archbishop of Mombasa. Good morning, my brothers and sisters.
Good morning.
Your men and women of God. And indeed, absolutely honored this morning to come and, as we say from my faith, fellowship with you this morning. And thank you very much, Father Mutie, for inviting me. And thank you all of you, because I know I am indebted to each one of you in a very exceptional way, because you have all been praying for me and you have been praying for the judiciary. So thank you very much. This morning I feel very warm and very, very happy to be amongst people I feel very comfortable with, men and women of God. I think I'm better off here than being in court. Because I'm surrounded by prayers, I'm surrounded by very positive vibes, and I can feel that hovering over me all over. So thank you for inviting me. So first of all, allow me to just recognize the work you do and thank you for the work that you are doing. And these meetings you have continued to hold so that we can hold each other's hand and commit this country to God. I am a woman of faith, and I totally believe that with prayers, we will always make it. We will connect with God, and God will hear us, and God will have mercy on us, and God will hold this country together for us, because indeed, as I keep saying, this country belongs to God, isn't it? God gave it to us, all the 50 million of us. So it belongs to the 50 million Kenyans, isn't it? It doesn't belong to the judiciary. It doesn't belong to the politicians. It belongs to the 50 million Kenyans. And those of us who have been given the privilege and the power to exercise that power and authority on behalf of the people of God, we are accountable. We are accountable to the Kenyans, and I believe even at the end of the day we'll be accountable to God, isn't it? So therefore what you're doing is the right thing, to convene and call us and ask us to come and tell you what is it that you're doing for Kenyans. What is it that you're doing with this power and this authority that I gave you as the judiciary. I am trying to deconstruct that we are independent in the way we make our decisions, but we are accountable to people. We must tell people how we are administering justice. We must listen to the people and hear from the people how is it that you would like us to render justice to you. Because what we render is a service. Just like when you go to the hospital, you are treated. And you have a right to ask the doctor, these medicines you have given me, how are they going to interact with my body? So for us, because we don't serve ourselves, we serve Kenyans, it is imperative that we too ask Kenyans, how would you like us to serve you? And this is why we have in every court station a court user committee where we interact with the members of public that we serve, our litigants, our stakeholders. And at the national level, we have the National Council for the Administration of Justice, which I chair. And the members are all the agencies in the justice system: the police, the Attorney General, the Law Society, the ODPP, the prisons, and everybody who has something to do with justice. The other day, I told the NCCK and all of you here represented, the Muslim Council, and all of us, wherever you are in a court station, delegate one of you to become a member of the court user committee that is near you. I believe even the Kadhi's court have a court user committee that is chaired by the Chief Kadhi. So it is important for that stakeholder group to belong to that court user committee. Milimani here we have our court users. Even the Supreme Court, we have the court users. Then we have the National Council. And I told the General Secretary that I'll make an application for him also to join the Thank you very much. To join the NCAJ, because indeed what we discussed there is the administration of justice, how we can coordinate ourselves, because you know very well we work together. Even if we are so good as the judiciary, we can never be able to meet the expectations of Kenyans if we are not coordinating ourselves and collaborating and cooperating with the others. We rely on the police to carry out investigations in a criminal case. We rely on the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions to prosecute the cases. We rely on the lawyers to do their work of representing the accused persons. We rely on the citizenry to report the cases and also to come to court and give evidence. So nobody in the justice sector can operate in a silo. We have to operate together, and we have to look out for each other and agree that what is it that we want for our country. We want peace, we want harmony, we want our people to develop, we want our children to be protected, to go to school, and on their way to school we do not want to hear that a child was raped or defiled or a child was done this or the other. We want a society that owns itself and protects itself, and everybody takes the responsibility of protecting themselves. So this is why I'm very, very proud of the work that each one of you do. I'm aware of the social work that you do in education, the work that you do in our health sector, the work that you do in mobilizing our communities towards building a better future for them and a better life for them, the support for the vulnerable groups, the disabled, children, and all persons, especially the marginalized areas, the work you have done to take services there, water, and all that. So please clap for yourselves for that great work that you have done for this country and this great work you have done for our Almighty God. So now, we are in the electioneering period, and everybody is keen to hear about what the judiciary has done. His Grace has just mentioned the unfortunate 2017 period when the Supreme Court nullified the presidential election. And I stand here as the Chief Justice to tell you that it is not very pleasant for anybody to nullify an election. And therefore, when that happens, there is a failure of a system somewhere. There is a breach of the law. There is a breach of the regulations that was identified, leading to that and that decision, which was to uphold the rule of law and uphold the Constitution. And therefore, we hope that all who have the responsibility of ensuring we have free, fair, credible, and verifiable election will do their work so that there is no breach of the law, there is no irregularity, and the elections that will be done will be compliant with the law and with the Constitution. Because if that does not happen, then the court has to do its work. And, you know, if that is not followed according to the evidence that is brought to the court, then the court has to do what it has to do. So what we are doing as the judiciary is to tell Kenyans, we took an oath of office to defend the law, to defend the Constitution, and we shall live by that oath of office We are impartial. We are completely apolitical. We do not have a preferred candidate, as indeed we cannot have because of our oath of office. We wish all the candidates well, and we hope the best candidates will win the elections, and that there will be no irregularities. It will be a free, fair, credible, and verifiable elections. And for us, we are grateful because this country has a great constitution which gives every Kenyan one vote. It doesn't matter who you are, if you are old, if you are poor, if you are rich, whoever you are, your gender notwithstanding, you have only one vote. And that vote, you are free to cast it. And nobody can force you to cast it, because you will go on a private cubicle where you do it the way you want, isn't it? Is there anybody who will take it from your pocket? So now, when Kenyans have done that, we have an independent body that is secured by the Constitution, the IBC, given the same freedom of independence. It's an independent body that cannot be directed by anybody. They have their oath of office that they have taken, like the Chief Justice has taken, to defend the law and defend the Constitution, and to do it without fear or favor. You cannot favor anybody. So theirs is to make sure that we are registered as voters. Theirs is to make sure that we are able to vote on that day, to count the votes, tally them, and transmit them. And now when there are disputes, those disputes, our Constitution is also very good. It's created the judiciary. Our work is to determine the disputes that will arise from there. Like we determine other disputes every day, even now I'm running to court. And therefore, our work as Kenyans is to support our institutions so that they become independent and they do their work the way they are supposed to do their work. We must always have hope and faith in our institutions, and we use our energies to build our institutions. And building our institutions is when you have issues, you raise them with us. If you have issues with the judiciary, the way we render justice, please raise them with us so that we can improve the delivery of our service. And that's why I talked about, because our Constitution is very rich on even participation by the people. It's one of the values, and we are directed that when you are serving people, then you must involve people. If you're making decisions that affect them, you must always inform them. This is what we call public participation. And our public participation is in the form of the court user committees, in the form of the National Council on the Administration of Justice, where we all come together to say, judiciary, you are failing us here. Because we don't know why you are doing what you're doing, and we are able to explain. And thank you very much, bishops. You supported us when we had the National Day of Prayer and Fasting, because we felt as a judiciary, we needed to come together, pray God, give thanks for our country, for the institution of the judiciary, present our petitions where we have shortages, because we have a lot of shortages, from the budgetary allocation to the human resource capital, to the infrastructure, to the technology that we have. There is always a shortage. But because we are people of faith and hope, we believe that because we serve God, who is a God of bounty, even those things that are short will be provided to us. Can you say amen to that? Amen. Our budget will be provided. And the infrastructure that we need to serve the 50 million Kenyans And to serve this idea now is that 13 trillion economy will be found that the judiciary will be able to deal with our backlog of cases, because actually the day was also for repentance. We told God, sorry, because we have a huge backlog of cases. We have kept people coming to court, coming for 10 years, coming for justice, chasing it like the wild goose. We told God to forgive us because we have released murderers when we ought not to. And all our shortcomings, we told God to forgive us and to strengthen us and renew us and also empower us to have faith that all the things that we want to do, we can do them. So what I was saying is we are together in this. When it comes to this electioneering period, we also renewed our oath of office. We reminded ourselves of the oath of office, that we are independent, we are impartial, we will do our work without fear or favor. And what have we done? Since 2013, I think from 2012, my predecessor, the Honorable Chief Justice Emeritus Dr. Willie Mutunga, established a judiciary committee on elections, one of the standing committees in the judiciary, that is led by a senior judge, the Honorable Mr. Justice Ibrahim Muhammad, is the chairman, and the vice chairman is the Honorable Mr. Justice Daniel Musinga, who is also the president of the Court of Appeal, and the membership of that committee as the principal judge and all the way to the magistrates court, everybody who will be dealing with issues of elections. What this committee does, it looks at what we need as the judiciary to equip ourselves to be ready to deal with elections and deal with them firmly and deal with them according to the law and deal with them according to the timelines that have been provided. From the magistrates' courts, who will deal with all the disputes arising from the election of the member of the county assembly, MCA. The High Court that will deal with all the petitions or disputes arising from the positions of the members of parliament, the women rep, and the governors. And of course, the Supreme Court, the High Court, the Court of Appeal will deal with the appeals arising from the High Court. The High Court will deal with the appeals arising from the Magistrates' Court. And the Supreme Court, whose jurisdiction is only to deal with the presidential election dispute. And that is the first one, as you know, 7 days after the declaration of the result. Whoever is aggrieved, whoever disagrees with those results is given the opportunity to come to court and file a petition in the Supreme Court. Therefore, if there is any dispute from the presidential election, we will receive it within 7 days after the declaration of the results. So what we have done in the judiciary is prepare ourselves to read all the laws pertaining to elections, look at all the rules and regulations and the standard operating procedures that will be used during elections, what we call end-to-end, so that the judges and the magistrates who will be handling, they are already familiar with the law, they are already familiar with the process, they are already familiar with the procedure, and therefore they will take charge of the cases, manage the case efficiently, and make sure the case is determined within the timeline that is set. For the petitions, it is 6 months. A case is supposed to be completed within 6 months. For us, in the Supreme Court, The presidential election is supposed to be held and determined within 14 days. You know how difficult that is. But the grace of God has been upon us because that was done in 2013. The Supreme Court was able to deliver a judgment within the 14 days, at least the short version, the orders that they were giving, and then they were able to deliver the reasoned judgment, the wrong one, within 21 days. Also, 2017, they did the same, and 2017, I think, was a double, because even after the repeat, there was also another petition. My prayer is that the Spirit of God will be upon us and there will be no disputes. That's a wishful thinking, isn't it? But whatever the case, if it comes, we are ready for it. The other thing we have done as the judiciary is recognize that there are many election offenses that take place during this particular time of electioneering. We have established special courts, the magistrates court who deal with these offenses. I gazetted 120 magistrates in February, and we have trained them. They are ready. When these offenses are taken before those courts, they will be dealt with also expeditiously. We will not have these cases linger on from one election to another election. We know who delay because the accused person does not want the case to proceed. So they keep on, they disappear, they get sick, they don't want to come to court. They use all manner of tactics, but this particular time, we want to deal with them firmly and, also plead with our citizenry to avoid pitfalls that bring them into conflict with the law. Because indeed, it is our people, unfortunately, the vulnerable groups, the youth, the supporters, who are the ones used to cause violence or to commit these electoral offenses. And they end up being dragged in the courts, in the police stations, whereas their principals, the candidates themselves, are enjoying their life in their homes. These people be languishing in police stations. So we've been trying to propagate what we are calling in the judiciary judicial hygiene. Judicial hygiene is like what people in health call prevention is better than cure. And in the judiciary we say also prevention is better than cure. Don't commit an offense because then you will not have to be taken through these processes. Avoid the pitfalls that bring you into conflict with the law. So if you don't get into conflict with the law, then it means that the police will not arrest you and you will not be brought to court. You'll be able to go and do what it is that you do every day. You'll not be taken away from your family or from your job. And this is a message I believe even you, men and women of God, have been spreading to our people to avoid committing offenses and avoid those pitfalls that bring them into conflict with the law. So as far as the elections are concerned, we share the concerns of Kenyans that we want the elections to be peaceful. We want our people to live in harmony. The other day I was meeting the eminent people from Africa. I think they are called the wise people of Africa. And I was telling them, as far as I'm concerned, ethnicity, or what we call tribalism in Kenya for me, is a rhetoric that is used only during electioneering period. Am I right in that assessment? Because before that we coexist harmoniously. We belong to various religions, don't we? Like we are seated here. And you go to your mosque, I go to my church. Those of us who are Protestants know we have very many of them. I'm a Methodist. But we have so many of them. Wherever you go, we go, and thereafter we come, we meet, we eat together, we celebrate together, we mourn together, we work together. Wherever we work together. We don't care whether you are a Mumero, whether you are a Ruo, whatever you are, we work together. Until politics come. And then we remember, oh, she is even from the mountains. All right? So let us refuse to be divided. This particular time of electioneering. We are peaceful all through. And we don't mind about each other. And our economy is growing. We are told it is growing at our indexes, I think 5 or 6. But we are told because of elections, it will come down to 0. Why should we allow our economy to come to 0? And it is our country just because of elections. Should we do that? So we all have an obligation to warn ourselves that if we go to 0, who will be used to bring it to 6? Isn't it ourselves? So we refuse to be used to destroy our country because it is for us to build it. So, my dear brother and sisters, please let us ensure whatever we have to do, we maintain peace, harmony, and tranquility in this country, so that our children will continue going to school, so that nobody's house or property will be destroyed. Because I've been in the business of even building houses. There's nothing I haven't done, Your Grace, Chair. I've been there to build houses for the poor, because I believe that is why God has given me the privilege of being a judge and having a home myself, and feeling that another family that does not have a home, it is my business to go there and encourage them. So I know those homes, if it is destroyed, if it is burnt down, what does it cost that family to build another shield? If it is your business, your kibanda, that has been destroyed because of post-election violence, who is going to build another kibanda? We are creating poverty. We are disempowering our people. And yet we are supposed to be strengthening our democracy, so that our democracy can hold us together and take us to another level of development, so that we can be able to attain our potential. So the message we need to take to the people, and you have the forums, the religious gatherings, is that we should never destroy ourselves. We should never destroy our businesses. Our businesses should run every day, and even that day of the 8th, those who are able to go vote, they should be able to come open their business and continue, isn't it? Our children should go to school every day except the 8th, when the schools will be used for the voting. I think it's going to be even during the school holidays. But no life should be disrupted, because this is a country that is governed by the rule of law. This is the country that people have sacrificed a lot to put institutions in place, to put the police, to put the judiciary, to put IBC to do what they are supposed to do, to therefore let everybody do what they are supposed to do and do the right thing, and let Kenyans thrive, and let us serve God, and let us make God happy. I thank you all for listening, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. We will continue to talk, so that next time I can share with you even the vision that we have for the judiciary. It's a huge vision for this country, whereby we want to empower 20 million Kenyans, that is almost the adult population, to know their rights, to be empowered, to know how to resolve their own disputes, because those of us and all of us are religious. God has instructed us, before you take your brother, you first of all listen with the brother. So we are encouraging this multi-door approach to justice, court-annexed mediation, where we are encouraging people to sit down and listen with one another, especially in the family disputes. You know, we have so many of them. We are asking, why would a brother take a sister or their mother or their father to court? Let us build harmony in our families. And we are working very hard to reach those families and encourage them to talk to one another and resolve the matter of inheritance and share the property that they were left by their parents or whoever left them in peace. And we are looking at alternative justice system, which belong to us as Africans. We always believe in having a forum where we resolve all our disputes and where we encourage one another. We know we have challenges in our families. Our children are delinquent. So we sit together as a community and ask ourselves, what kind of generation are we bringing up? If our children have disappeared and they have been consumed, they are taking illicit brew and alcohol and other things that they are taking, drugs, we need to rescue them. And we can only rescue them because we have to support those families who have no capacity to be able to know even who is a child. We know we have such people in our midst. So we need to encourage them, build their capacity, let them know they have potential within themselves to work and make a better lives for themselves and for their children and for the country. So another day we will spend with myself and maybe my team taking you through our vision for the judiciary, which is a justice that is people-centered, that is responsive to the aspirations of Kenyans. Thank you. God bless you and continue praying for me and for the judiciary.
I think, in fairness, she deserves a bigger clap than it. I appreciate that off the cuff, she is, you can see she is the one. We are all aware she's a very short time, and therefore we'll only ask about 3 questions, allowing questions, so that she can respond. Maybe let's hear a bigger concern, maybe she has not touched, or something you feel so strong about. We know and we are aware she had to sacrifice these moments, and therefore we give her the chance to hear again what you have to say. And then after that, we'll ask somebody to move a vote of thanks, which I appreciate, that so that we can allow her to run to the next assignment.
Thank you, Madam Lady Justice, for this opportunity. Mine is just a quick one. The concerns of the delayed cases, especially on qualifications of candidates, issues to do with the much talked about degrees now. What's going to happen that now the same candidates who are still facing these challenges, we have cases delaying. For example, Honorable Sudi's case, which has been there for the last 5 years, and we are now going to elections again with the same case which has not been finalized. What do we expect out of it?
Thank you, Eduardo.
I think one of our greatest concern has to do with violence that is created by different candidates that are competing, and they use young people. Lady Justice, in 2017, around September, just before the repeat elections, young people, incited by their, of course, the candidates or whatever parties that they were fighting for, attacked women in a hotel that I was associated with at the National Council of Churches of Kenya at that time. And these young people are still in court to this day. To this end, I'm wondering how can the judiciary and other institutions of government that are concerned, the DPP and the investigating authorities, be able to link the violence that young people create to the people who cook it, so that then they know that if you incite young people to cause violence, the judiciary will be able to trace it to me and peradventure try to mitigate the supply of violence around the elections. And so we are wondering, is there a possibility that in your adducing and trying to listen to evidence that it's possible that the candidates and political parties are also brought to book in these cases?
I'm only concerned with the language of the candidates, especially from MCA up to the top. And sometimes they use a very unbecoming language. We hear some are less than, others are not less than from particular parties. Can the judiciary also do something on the same? Yeah, because we have seen from one party complaining on that when they use a long language, they are arrested, then the others are not arrested. Is that also part of the judiciary where they can come in?
The issue of protracted corruption cases that take forever, and the citizenry, they really want to see a punch. If somebody is accused as corrupt, let there be timeline. For example, 3 months the case will be dispensed.
I think the question from my brother from Sudkel, delay in determination of cases, and he gave an example of one member of parliament whose credentials were questioned, is the authenticity of his certificates in the last general elections, and the case is still in court today. And for that reason, I may not be able to comment on it because it's still in court. But what I did when I became Chief Justice, I asked our courts to expedite all the cases that are in the system that are 3 years and above. But like I said, in most of these criminal cases, we rely on the police to bring witnesses. So these cases were, because I asked for some files for me to understand why they have been in the system for long, the witnesses will not turn up. Then the accused person also delays by using all manner of tactics. But eventually, I believe justice flows like a river. It will flow and justice will be done one of these days. It reaches a point where you cannot keep compromising and delaying the cases. And that is the same with the corruption cases. These mega corruption cases, we still have the Anglo-Lisi in our system. We still have Goldenberg in our system, corruption cases, almost more than 20 years down the line. And witnesses have died. But it's the nature of corruption that it keeps fighting back. And what I have seen in those cases, because I've also had taken time to look at them and also to discuss with other agencies like the DPP and the police, because the court becomes the one to be blamed for the delay. Or even when these cases fail, it is the court that is blamed because we are the ones who pronounce that it is dismissed. Whereas there was no evidence, whereas the prosecution was not properly done, then of course the case cannot meet the standard of proved beyond reasonable doubt. and the magistrate or the judge has no option but to dismiss the cases. And it's so painful for Kenyans because Kenyans watched our state coffers being emptied, money being carried in garden bags, the prosecution taking forever. So there are problems that we are trying to address because we have that duty to do that. But I'm also happy to report that a lot of work is being done, especially in assets recovery, the unexplained assets. If you follow that trend in the courts have frozen a lot of assets, unexplained, illegally acquired wealth, and they recovered massive amount of monies from unexplained sources. And for the corruption cases that are still pending, quite a number of them are now moving because before we used to have so many people accused in one case. You could have even 20 people accused in one case, and you could have even 120 witnesses listed as witnesses. Then they could bring documents in pickup, in tons. So those cases are meant really never to finish because of the way they are structured. So we are trying to talk all of us and say we are protecting our country, we are protecting our heritage, we are leaving a legacy for the generation to come. What kind of judiciary are we going to give to the next generation? Is it this one which never finishes any corruption case? So we are absolutely challenged as a judiciary. We challenge ourselves, we know the problems, and we are working very hard to make sure that we resolve these issues of delay. In fact, if you read our vision that we are implementing, no case should remain in trial for more than 3 years. And we believe it is feasible. And that's why we are busy now, trying to see how we can build our capacity to be able to do that. Then the other issue was about violence, and thank you, Dr. Makanda, also for isolating gender-based violence, because the most vulnerable of these candidates now are women. When you go to that very contested field where elections are a matter of life and death, women are traumatized because they are really violated. I looked at one clip where a woman was being house hosted, and because I think they talk on top of her car, and the way they touched her all over the place, I'm like, no, I wouldn't, if I'm the one, I wouldn't like to be subjected to this. So there are actually many cases of gender-based violence. The women candidates are not having a TC. They are complaining a lot because of harassments. Some of them have even run away from their homes because they have been threatened with rape. Because the other things they can do to men, in a woman, they will in addition rape the woman so that they break her spirit completely. So we have to say no to violence. And I think the strongest thing to do is those who are perpetuating violence, the best that can happen is for them not to be elected. The best that can happen for them is also to be charged with offenses of violence and committing electoral offenses. But we know this country, we know how difficult it is. Sometimes we are made to apologize for doing the right thing. Sometimes we are being made to apologize for sticking to the law, so that if the police arrest this person, they'll be told now they are being sent to spoil for this party. So I don't know, you have to help this country so that we stick to the right thing. And even if you're a candidate, even if you're a political party and you have done the wrong thing, you must be told you have done the wrong thing, and you must be made to answer for it. And if you have used the youth, especially the unemployed, to go and cause violence, that violence should be, like, I agree with you entirely, Dr. Makanda, it must be traced to the owner. Who is the beneficiary of this violence that was created? Who is it the youth? Somebody must have sent them. We trace it to them and tell them to take responsibility. If the youth have gone and destroyed somebody's property, let that person restore that property. Because they are the ones who organized the rally. They called the people, they did not manage them. They went berserk and destroyed people's property, they injured others. They should be made responsible. So we are getting there as a country. I believe we are getting there in this, following this principle of accountability. We will get there. And the language of the candidates, Dr. Marani. It's also, you've heard NCIC speak a lot and spend a lot of time to tell us about hate speech, because everything begins with the word. The word is very strong. When you go uttering hate speech, language you use that divides our people, language that you use that causes people to fight one another and to start telling one another to move from where they live, that is unacceptable language. And I think the police have also been trained on hate speech, and they are completely aware of what is unacceptable, and they should do their work and arrest those who perpetuate hate speech. Thank you very much.